Hey, it's Juck, and it's not time to record the show yet. That'll be later on this evening, but I wanted to come. I stopped what I was doing, and I wanted to get this down because I'm really, really excited. So when the news trickled out about Carlos Locklyn, Menace to Sports sent that tweet out, and that was, I think, the first one who had brought up his name. I was about to record a show. So right before I did a little quick familiarizing myself of Carlos Locklyn, and I deduced right then and there that, okay, this is a guy with a really high upside. We haven't seen his ceiling. He's only been coaching for 3 years. His top 4 recruits were very solid for a guy who had only been in a power program for 2 cycles. And, you know, one of those cycles, when you first get in, you don't have the benefit of having those existing relationships. Usually these coaches know these kids for a couple cycles before they sign. So for having only been at Oregon 2 cycles, it was very impressive. 2 very high-ranked 4-stars, 2 middle-ranked 4-stars, one of them an offensive lineman, one of them a defensive lineman. So not just running backs, all of them from the Deep South, where he's from. So with that information and seeing that he had gone from Western Kentucky in 1 year to Oregon, hey, that's a guy with a high upside. I like it. I said it's the best we could do under the circumstances. Well, I've changed my mind. So I did that episode, and then today I dug a little further into it because Steve Wiltfong just tweeted out that he has crystal balled Jordan Davison, our number 1 running back target, to the Buckeyes. Davison had gone up. Tony Alfraud convinced him to go up and visit Michigan over the weekend. He was also at Ohio State. So Michigan wasn't even on his board before Alfred went there. And Alfred got him to go up there and check it out. Hey, kudos to Alfred to get him to go up there and check it out when that wasn't even on his board. But the crystal ball comes out, and I'm thinking, does this have something to do with Carlos Locklyn? So I do a little digging, and I found this quote. And it is Jordan Davison's quote on Carlos Locklyn. Man, Coach Llock is my guy. Me and him are close. My relationship with him is great. Probably one of the best relationships I have with any coach in the country. So it's no coincidence to me now. It all plays together. We see that Jordan Davison, a coach that he really likes, gets the job at Ohio State. And now we see that is where he's crystal balled to go. And it's not just that. So I'm just looking at this guy's trajectory. He works at Memphis as a recruiting guy in the recruiting department. That's where he first meets Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning goes on his meteoric rise himself, gets the job at Oregon. Carlos Locklyn, a guy from the recruiting department in Memphis, had made such an impression on him that he goes and hires him out of Western Kentucky off of 1 year coaching experience in college. 1 year in college. And he pulls him up to be his running backs coach at Oregon. I think we can deduce that he's probably very impressed by Carlos and that they probably share the same recruiting philosophy. And what do we always say about a running back coach? We care most about his recruiting chops. Well, if Dan Lanning felt strongly enough, Dan Lanning's one of the most aggressive recruiters in the country. Everybody we're in on, Oregon is in on now. And Oregon did not used to recruit like that. He has said to them out there, listen, we don't need to settle for what it's been. We can go be the very best. And everywhere we're going after a guy, a Decorian Moore, a number 1 guy, Oregon is right there with us. And they're getting it done. And that's Dan Lanning's attitude. And that's Carlos Locklyn's attitude. Well, now, Carlos Locklyn is our guy with that attitude, an aggressive attitude, a guy who is a fast riser, a guy who is very driven, a guy who's built like an look, I know some people don't think this matters, but when you are a jovial, nice guy, okay, and you're built like Carlos Locklyn, you kind of command respect any room you're in, particularly in the world full of tough guys and football players. It immediately commands respect when you don't act like a jackass, right? And this guy doesn't. You see the smile on his face everywhere he is. When you have that attitude and you're built like that, it's just a thing, man. It really is. It's a dude thing. And you guys all know what I'm talking about. Everybody likes to have a buddy that big. I mean, it's like he's enormous. He's absolutely enormous. And that's something. And he's an aggressive recruiter. He's from the South, got ties in the South, and he's recruited out in California. Jordan Davison's from California. So we're talking about a very relatable, very cool guy, a guy to me that just seems like he must have an it factor about him for Lanning to want to pull him out of Western Kentucky off of 1 year of coaching there to be the running backs coach at Oregon. That is very impressive. Now Ryan Day goes and pulls him out of there. It's a shot at Oregon. Looks like we're now going to land Jordan Davison. Tony Alfraud would have failed at that. I think most of us believe that to be true. I never thought Davison was really going to, I thought it was a 25% chance that Alfraud was going to close the deal on him. Now I think it's very likely that Jordan Davison is in the class. And if we want to talk about coaching, this dude took Bucky Irving, who was a nobody at Minnesota, got him to transfer out to Oregon, and made him a household name last year in college football. I think he's impressive, man. I think he's so impressive. And my original thought on this man was the best the Buckeyes could have done under the circumstances is not to hire some old retread guy who has, an experienced track record of doing pretty good in recruiting and ties to the South, but a guy with a very high ceiling that has not reached his ceiling yet, and also has shown a shorter but effective history of recruiting in just 2 cycles. And I don't just think now that this is the best they could have done under the circumstances. I think this man is pretty special. And with the block O on his chest, he just might have a shot to be the best running back coach in the country. And this short-term hire is potentially, in Ryan's eyes, being viewed as this is the actual guy. This is the guy. We're not talking about a guy we're going to have on staff as a stopgap, and he's going to be looking around for the best option later. I think this is the guy. I couldn't be more excited, and I just wanted to come spew this all out before I forgot a couple of my points. So there it is. Jordan Davison will now be in the class. Carlos Locklyn will be the best running back in the country in a couple of years, and that's it. I'll talk to you guys later.